Good afternoon everybody and welcome back. In this video we left Mykonos early in the morning. It was about 6 o'clock in the morning and we got back on the ferry and left Mykonos and headed back to Rafina and mainland Greece. From there we were reunited with our coach, which was a bit like returning home because we'd spent the last 20 odd days pretty much consistently on the coach every day, and so everyone was super excited to be back at the coach and back on the coach and yeah. So we headed north towards the Albanian border. I can't remember the reason why, but we ended up having to go through some kind of back roads. They were a bit like country roads and they were super pretty, and I can remember them being kind of bordered by these really tall, luscious green grasses, and I don't really know what it was, but I remember it being very, very pretty, and we had to stop for cattle at one point and stuff like that. But we ended up stopped and spent the night in Preveza. It was kind of in the middle of nowhere. I'm trying to remember. In the middle of nowhere, there was a lake or something, and we went past an old kind of amphitheater and all this kind of stuff, and yeah, pretty much everybody just had dinner and then went to bed because there wasn't anything else to do anyway there, because yeah, like I said, we were in the middle of nowhere, or as us Kiwis would say, we're in the wops with the Kiwi lingo. Oh, and I actually didn't film any of the drive, which I'm sad about now because I do remember it being very beautiful and kind of not what I was expecting. But my excuse is that I had my nose thoroughly in a book and was reading it and engulfed in it. So, if you know me, book nerd, hi. The next day was another travel day, so we left Preveza and continued north to the Albanian border. It was just before lunch that we crossed the border. The border being very quiet, there wasn't really any other cars there or anybody else there crossing through. So our tour manager had our passports and he was going to do that, and we all had to get off the coach, and so we ended up staying off to the side in the sunshine. And we'd noticed as we were pulling up there was this kind of rough, dodgy looking bloke, don't come at me for saying that because it was true, bloke who was standing to the side, and our tour manager had made comment about people wanting to cross the borders and whatnot. We were all kind of very, the entire group was super aware of him and just keeping an eye on him and everything. And eventually we were able to get back onto the coach, and we all kind of clamped together and filtered on. And our tour manager I can remember him standing at the doors, and the doors been closed as quickly as they could be because this guy looked like he was thoroughly going to try and get onto the coach. So yeah, that was a bit weird. I mean, people try and get across borders all over the world, so it is something that happens, and I think they needed to check that we had no one stowed away in the luggage compartment and things like that. I can't really remember. We then began the drive to Tirana, which is Albania's capital city, and I'm not entirely sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but it's Tirana. I will insert the name here so you can see it. Albania was completely and utterly not what I expected. I don't know what I expected, perhaps something along the lines of of Greece, where it's quite, I guess, dusty seeming. I don't really know what the right word is, and quite dark greens and almost desertous. Is that a word? Desert-like, I guess. I don't know. I don't really know what I expected of it, but it was just the complete opposite of whatever it was that I was expecting. And it's just these tall mountains. Just super mountainous. There were just rivers. They were obviously glacier fed, and they were that like rich, like almost foggy blue color. And also you could see from the road, from the coach, that they were like super clear. It's very reminiscent of the South Island of New Zealand. The landscape and the rivers and the roads and everything like that. So yeah, I don't know, it's just really beautiful, and just so not what I was expecting. And it wasn't until we were kind of in Albania and Jake was giving us his little spiel about information about the country that I realised that I didn't really know anything about Albania. I hadn't really learned anything about it at school or at any other point in my life. So I spent a lot of the trip kind of just looking up things out of curiosity on my phone. In other words, my book was put down and I was looking out the window and being curious. It's only been about 25 to 30 years or something since it stopped being a communist country, and I realized that saying stopped isn't quite the right way to put that, but I can't think of any other ways to say it. So there's still like obvious signs of that period in its history, I guess, like everywhere, just lining the sides of the roads and the hills and stuff are just the old bunkers that they had to be there because their leader wanted them. I can't even remember the actual facts, I'm sorry. Leader wanted them there and they had to practice getting them in case they were, I guess, attacked by another country or something like that. At the moment they're hoping to and wanting to join the EU, the European Union, but they have to meet certain criteria, like the economy has to be at a certain point, and I don't know, you can look up what the criteria is to be eligible to join the EU, but you know, one of the things was that they have to do is kind of put an end to the blood feuds that resurfaced once the Communist Party stopped being in power in Albania and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I just didn't realize how much I didn't know about this country, to be honest. But prior to this trip, I probably wouldn't have been able to point out where in Europe Albania even was. So there's that. But yeah, we then eventually arrived in the hotel we were staying in Tirana. Nobody kind of really went out. We were, obviously because of its past and stuff, everyone was a little bit, I guess, apprehensive about doing the wrong thing. I feel like that's a valid way of putting it. I'll also add in one of the reasons why I didn't actually film much while we were in Albania, and we were only there for a night, was because of this reason as well. I didn't want to. There are just some times and in some places you just don't want to draw attention to yourself and you don't want to attract anything. But we ended up just staying in the hotel anyway, which, to be honest, is a little bit disappointing. We didn't actually get to go out and see the city of Tirana, but so be it. But that night in the hotel room, a few of us gathered in Candace and my room, and we ended up watching the final ever episode of Big Bang Theory, and yes, there were a few tears. So for now, Tirana will always be reminiscent of us sitting in the room watching the final ever episode of Big Bang Theory. So if I ever watch it again, I'm just going to be thinking about that time in Tirana. But I would definitely like to go back to Albania, and I would definitely like to learn some more about its heart. Sure, about its history, see some of the landscape. But it was it was just so beautiful. The next day was another travel day, so we only spent one night in Tirana, and the next day was the day that we crossed 3 borders. So Albania into Montenegro, and then Montenegro into Croatia. So 3 countries. 3 borders, that's 2 borders, Sarah. But I can math. So we crossed the Albanian border and entered Montenegro. And from there we followed the windy roads that led us down into Budva. So we stopped in Budva for our lunch, and we ended up having the shortest amount of time ever there. And we were meant to be going to have lunch, and we decided that we were going to go into the old part of the city to go and have our lunch. So eventually we found a restaurant to have, and Jake, our tour manager, had made comment that if you want to have seafood, this is a good place to have it. I was like, obviously then I'm gonna have seafood. And this restaurant we stopped at, the staff were really lovely. We said we've only got a small amount of time, so can we so make sure to be quick and everything, because as somebody who works in a restaurant, I do actually appreciate when you come to me and be like, look, I've only got a small amount of time, so if can do as quick as possible. At least we know then. Can't complain. Whatever. Carrying on. Not going into work. The food kind of came out as it was ready, and mine seemed to take the longest. I'd ordered a bowl of prawns because I was like, okay, prawns I know for a fact are quite quick to eat. And then they arrived and we literally had 2 minutes. And so I'm just eating and these prawns and deshelling these prawns as fast as I can. I have no idea what they taste. I couldn't tell you if they were good. I literally just inhaled food. And then we finished, we paid as quickly as we could, and then we basically had to run all the way back to the coach. I said to the tour manager, I was like, look, if I'm sick, it's gonna be prawns because I just inhaled a dozen prawns. It's kind of disappointing that we only had I don't even know, it must have been an hour, less than an hour. I don't know, but it was just so quick, and it was just almost what was the point of even kind of stopping in a historic city if we couldn't even go and see and do anything, kind of thing. So then we continued our drive through Montenegro and we crossed into Croatia. In my journal here I make comment that it was another interesting border crossing. I don't know why, I have no memory of it, but apparently it was. We were there for a while, and Alec and I ended up entertaining ourselves by playing charades with one another, because I was a few rows back from where he was sitting, so we were just playing charades. I think we'd started doing it in the border crossing from Albania or somewhere else as well, but playing charades and just having a bit of a laugh while we waited to cross the border. Somewhere in this point, and I can't remember where it was, I can't remember if it was before Budva or when we were going into Croatia or what, but we had to get on a ferry, a car ferry, and go and cross over a bit of water. So yeah, that was that. And then we continued on our drive to Dubrovnik, which any Game of Thrones fans will recognize from Game of Thrones, but there's more about Dubrovnik in the next video. We arrived at our accommodation, and I tell you what, Candace and I were super glad that we had chosen to have backpacks as our luggage and Alec with his duffel bag, because we had to take luggage out on the side of the road and then walk up the street and then had a set of stairs to go up. Everybody else had so many other people had suitcases, and then there was a small selection of us that had duffel bags or backpacks, and we were just yeah, this is easy. Recommendation, take backpacks. We then went into the city to go and have dinner, and we found somewhere and had dinner, and there was a cat. I can remember being a cat, and again, super lovely staff, and they were just loads of really nice people. and we ended up getting like the biggest ice cream ever for dessert. That's it, and that's it. So in the next video we are in Dubrovnik, so definitely stick around so that you can see that one. But yeah, that's all I have for this video. Sorry that I didn't film that much. It just didn't, in this whole segment, these 3 days, I just didn't film very much. I apologize, okay. If you like this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, leave any comments in the comment section down below, and check out the description for all my links to my Instagram and social media, and you'll also find my blog where I post more detailed stories about a lot of my travel adventures, so go and check that out. And subscribe so you get notified every single time I upload a video, and then you know when the next video about Dubrovnik is going to come out, which will be next week, you know. But yeah, I am uploading a new video every Saturday at 6 PM UK time, so definitely make sure you're subscribed and that you rung the bell so you get notified. And yeah, that's it. Cool. I'll see you guys next week in my next video, but until then, remember to explore all you see, laugh out loud, and live your dreams. Okay, bye!